popped up yet. I think it's starting to. That's an ad break that's from FASA.
There you go.
For GTA 5, I think.
Oh, okay. Morning, folks. Welcome to Dan Painting Miniatures. I got Matty with me again, Radio Free Earth Dawn. Check out his podcast, it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Hello, good morning.
Start off with what we finished last week, or what we were painting last week. I finished off. It's these guys. Oh, it's already started. Dan doesn't know where the camera is. And if you can hear chewing noises in the background, it's just my dog chewing on his deer antler.
Oh, isn't that adorable?
My partner is away at the moment. She's looking after grandchildren because her daughter's just had her third.
Oh, congratulations, Grandpa.
Yes, I'm affectionately known as Grumps in the family. It is apt. So these guys, they're done. They are the only 1879 I have at the moment, which I need to rectify. So, and this puppy is a test print of SS Target, Spaceship Target. It's a civilian vessel. There is a little bit more work to do yet before it's production ready, but there you go. Spaceship to go with space fighters for Livestream Interceptor.
Hooray!
So, lovely little model. If I do say so myself, I may or may not be a little bit biased.
Well, it is a pretty cool model, and it is a pretty decent size.
Yeah, I think so. It's got a nice little bit of patterning on it from the resin. Yeah, let's not look at the underside, because supports. The joys of learning about printing.
You could paint those gnomes any which way you pleased. You could have like a colony thing in there, or you could have fuel tanks, or all manner of things.
Yep.
Very versatile.
Yes. I got the inspiration for it from, I think it's, if I'm not wrong, it was the world's first nuclear cargo ship, and I think it was called the Savannah, and I think it was a bulk gas freighter. But I may have all of that conflated and be completely wrong by now, because I'm getting old.
The gas bulk carriers certainly do have big tanks that are like that.
Yeah. Big balls. But we should move on from that. Unless, of course, we want to play some AC/DC. Right. What we're doing today, Orcs. We're back to Orcs. And we're doing Command, because I have played a test game of version 4 now, and I had to play it using ISTAC commanders for the Orcs, because I haven't painted any Orc commanders, so I thought I'd rectify that. Yeah, and we've got a big general in here who's on a palanquin. I'm not sure you would call it a palanquin. Really, it's just they're carrying him on a plank. And a couple of banner bearers and a couple of musicians. So I've been writing rules for banners and musicians. I'm yet to see how badly they suck. Next playtest. If we ever get out of lockdown again.
Yeah.
Because lockdown.
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 And not the good Dan that's the host of this stream. That other Dan.
What's really amusing is that my second name is Andrew.
Poor fellow.
Those really unfortunate coincidences. I was having a discussion with my mother last night about said politician and said name. She was lamenting the fact that I couldn't visit her at the moment, having been just diagnosed with a serious illness. So,
don't worry, the lockdown policy is working exactly as intended.
What's that? I'm not sure.
To destroy the family unit.
Trust me when I tell you that my family unit was destroyed a long time before Daniel Andrews got involved.
Yeah, yours, but not everyone else's necessarily.
No. But, me being me, I don't actually care about everybody else's. Which is the way it should be. Now, why is it that it's always within the first 10 minutes at the start of the live stream that my nose starts to run? It's extremely annoying. That was a rhetorical question.
I was just going to say I couldn't make out what you said because you're, I don't know, not coming through quite so clearly as you have been in the past.
Not so clearly. I am recording this, so I wonder if there's an additional processor load.
Maybe that's also why the stream just died for me and I got kicked back out to another hooray Twitch ad.
Oh boy, Twitch ad.
You've gotten more Twitch ads out of me today than you have ever, so...
That's awful. I do apologise.
Advertising. I don't want it. Get it off the internet.
And then the internet just suddenly stops.
Yeah. You're coming through better and the stream seems to be back now, so maybe it's just me.
No. Looking at the history of Don's stream this week, he had to have about 6 or 7 goes at it before he got his content out. His stream's broken into like 2 and 3 minute chunks there for some of it.
Yeah, I saw some of that too. Lots of problems going on. So, what's the clear liquid that you've got on your palette at the moment?
Just water.
Just water?
Just water. And this is an army painter paint called Corpse Pale. And it comes out of the pot with the consistency of smooth peanut butter, which is not conducive to getting a good surface on the model. So it needs a little bit of thinning just to move.
Always trying to pick up new tips.
Yeah, it's all very dependent on the paint. Some paints...
Well, don't have any army painters, so...
No, there are some Vallejo that do the same thing.
That I've noticed a little bit.
Hang on a second, I have to blow my nose. This is really bad. Been up well more than an hour. You would think that if it was going to do something like that, it would have done it just after it got up. Never mind. I presume you're still there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So what sort of construction were you doing?
I've had my hand in just about every kind of construction that's gone on in the country.
Okay.
Just about every kind. Not every kind.
Big stuff.
Big stuff and small stuff. I've done a fuel refinery and power stations. I worked for 6 months on a states banning LNG network, gas pipelines.
Yeah.
2,500 different houses.
2,500.
As in 2,500.
Yeah.
30 something. And I've had, well, those are the big projects, and I've had a bunch of smaller ones, well, big and small ones that I've had my hands in at second hand. From tower blocks to casinos to the chief police station of Vanuatu.
Nice. Vanuatu.
It was a very varied career for a while, though.
All that in 10 years. That's impressive.
15.
15.
Well, yeah, I guess 15 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a young fellow.
Yeah, you are.
My first project was Grandad's Shed.
Yep. And you were physically involved in erecting that, or just did the design?
I was physically involved in erecting it.
There you go.
No, don't trust me with the design. One of my uncles is a much better draftsman than I ever was.
Right, okay. So what did you do principally? You weren't on the design side, you were on
the... document control is my forte, although I also got into quality assurance.
We could do with some of that in our business, to be honest.
For quality control or record management?
No, just record management. Our document management's not as good as it could be. Boy, oh boy, I had to go through about 5 descriptions in my head there before I came up with something that was polite enough to say.
Someone got a 20-year-old female relative who needed a job, and someone high up thought that, oh, record management, that's a perfect place to put a girl with no skills.
Right.
That's often the way it goes. It's totally not the case in real life.
It's actually an extremely difficult discipline, extremely complex, and requires a great deal of skill, and might I add that the people that are good at it, as far as I'm aware, are extremely pragmatic, sensible people. My problem is that I'm working with a bunch of people at the moment that are not pragmatic, because they believe that because they're in biomed, they have to be anally retentive about everything.
God's own chosen people, the ones who help the world.
I don't mind it. These people are there to help us. We have a quality management system. I'm sure you know what a quality management system is. Maybe the one listener to this podcast other than you doesn't know what it is. But anyhow, we have a quality management system which says we're going to do a bunch of things. Right? These people are there at the end of the day to make sure that we have objective evidence that we did what we said we were going to do. That's fine. If they were guiding us along the way to say that here's the system that you guys are adhering to, and this is what you said you would do in that system, have you done it yet? That is reasonable. But coming along at the end of the project, when all of the managerial management control documents are signed off, and then saying you haven't done this, and 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 by the way, all of your chief documents are signed off, so create some new ones, is not helpful. Particularly when you consider we don't have a document management system. It is a set of Word documents on a network share, or network shares, as the case may be.
Dear.
Anyhow, the only reason I was so upset at my colleague yesterday was that he was asking me to redo documents that had been signed off in wet ink more than 2 years ago and then lost.
You know, if you had a decent, halfway decent records management system, you wouldn't have lost those documents.
Exactly right.
I blame senior management for not implementing everything that you need for success.
So do I. They don't see it the same way.
Of course they don't.
And they're never likely to. No problem with that.
No, they're at the top. Their days of work and toil long behind them. They don't care.
I know these guys work very hard. As a matter of fact, they just don't work very hard on the things that I want them to be working on. This all came about because we've had a bit of a retention issue this year.
Gee, I wonder why.
3 senior people from the software that I work on walk from our Indian Development Centre, and now the questions are being asked about why. And I'm like, well, I've been pointing out to you guys for the last 6 years that this thing's hard to work on, and here are the reasons why. And they went, that's nice, we'd like you to write that down. So I have. So I spent all week putting together a Miro board, and it's got 60 cards on it at the moment. For what's wrong with it.
If only you could see the big shit-eating grin on my face. Apologies for my French.
It's a soul-destroying exercise because I've had every single one of these cards, every word I've written on one of these cards. I've had conversations with many people in the past about the same topics, and nothing's been done about it. So I'm afraid that I can see this exercise going exactly the same way. They're going to go look at this and they're going to go, wow, well, that's all too hard, so we'll just do this instead, ...
Well, that's management.
Well, I was management for a while. I chose not to be management anymore because it's hard in a whole bunch of other ways, and I didn't like it. I preferred to be on the technical side. But in the same way, I'll never choose to be a politician. I'll never choose to be a manager again, because managing people, not easy. In fact, it's extremely difficult. But on the other hand, how they come up with some of the decisions they come up with baffle me. And I work for a Fortune 500, effectively. I mean, I'm too two company structures removed from it, but my opco works for a multinational which is owned by Fortune 500, and there's a little bit of corporate rah-rah that goes on that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Actually saw it back in the day, back a long time ago, in a previous incarnation, call it what you like. I was working for a company that was subcontracted to Hewlett Packard, and I was on site at Hewlett Packard in Palo Alto and actually watched. It was a cubicle farm. It was, I don't know if you've ever seen the comic Dilbert, but
of course,
it was a classic cubicle farm a la Dilbert. And when the CEO came over the intercom to make announcements, people actually stood.
Well, that's not reminiscent of certain horrible, evil dictatorships.
It's a little bit dystopian from my perspective, and they were just looking at me, and I'm like, what? I'm sorry, I'm Australian. I don't get this. This is not natural. You guys have lost the plot.
That doesn't sound universally American to me either.
No, I guess it probably isn't.
I think that's that particular corporate culture.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It is that corporate culture is. They're trying to push it down into each one of the opcos. You know, there is the corporate way. They have a business system that they push down into all of the businesses that they buy, and they start to homogenize all of their purchased businesses to get them all to operate the same way, to all behave the same way, to all think the same way.
Yeah. And then they sell you off and you get snapped up by someone else, and it all changes.
Again, yeah. You would think so. This company actually doesn't sell a great deal of businesses. They're actually building a worldwide portfolio of biomed companies that'll be unrivaled, I would have thought. They're also an extremely successful company. Like, everybody looks at Standards & Poor as a sort of benchmark for investing and all that kind of stuff. This particular company is percentage points ahead of them. They go about their business, they do it very quietly, they do it very confidently, and they're extremely successful at it. But whether or not it's necessarily particularly morally appetizing is up to the individual.
Maybe it is a good thing we don't have too many viewers at the moment.
Dan paints politics.
I could see it working. I mean, you'd have to get a new setup and probably find yourself a freshly painted wall in a alley in somewhere within 5 kilometers of your home.
Yes.
Set up the GoPro and away you go.
Away I go. There's a flood control system not very far from here that has a dike and a ditch and a flood control zone and everything like that, and the boys get out there with their spray cans and they put slogans all over the inside of the water control ditch, because it's a concrete bunker effectively.
political slogans when no one will ever see them, unless they're being swept away in floodwater.
Well, this is modern graffiti, so I'm not sure what it says at all. And I don't know whether a slogan is a good slogan if nobody can interpret it.
It's all about the art, man.
And the art, man. I mean, I appreciate their skill with the spray can. I couldn't do that, but I don't necessarily like the aesthetic.
You're just an evil old white man.
That's a tautology.
Yeah. Don't worry, so am I.
All of it except the old bit in your case.
I once had a, no, he didn't end up being my father-in-law, but he was probably the closest that ever came to it.
Right.
He described me as being born 50 years old and getting worse from there.
Yeah, right, okay. An old soul in a young body.
Oh, I'm not sure he meant it kindly.
No,
like
he wouldn't have. Wouldn't have. It would have been a put down of a fair magnitude, I would have imagined.
Well, I'm just glad that whole relationship didn't work out in the end. I knew I dodged a bullet when I was invited to her wedding.
Right.
We were still seeing each other at the time.
Oh.
It's funny to look back on it, but I wasn't pleased at the years and years of effort that I'd put into the relationship being for naught.
Yeah. Nobody ever is.
Yeah, but to be invited to your partner's wedding.
At the time they're your partner, that's all kinds of messed up.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was glad to have dodged that bullet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could consider that as the groom you've been invited to the wedding too, but in this case you were just a guest, not the groom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all kinds of messed up.
All's well that ends well.
Mm-hmm.
So we keep lying to ourselves.
Well, I managed to not get invited to my ex-wife's second marriage, so I'll consider myself fortunate as well. At least we'd been split a significant number of years before that happened.
Save the money you would have spent on a gift for more minis.
Hey, you do know me. I was paying her child support at the time, so I probably funded their wedding, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's done now. The youngest is 18, so... she can find that money from someone else.
Don't worry, she's probably got a plan.
Well, it's funnily enough, the guy that she married is in IT. About the same height, about the same build. Rode a motorcycle when she met him. don't think he does anymore. And you're just like,
Sounds like she's got a type.
Replaced? Much? Oh, the dog's finally got tired of his deer antler. He's a bit pouty because my partner's away. And I've got a paintbrush in my hand, which means I'm not paying him any attention.
I guess it's understandable from the dog's point of view.
Yeah, he'll maybe even during this live stream, he'll come in and he'll put his head under my elbow and he'll flick my elbow up, stick his head under my arm, going, "Hey, attention, come on."
You hear that, folks out there in TV land?
Yeah.
Stay tuned for a sneak appearance by Dan's dog. I promise you it's adorable.
What's he gone? Oh, he's gone back to the deer antler, so he's not sick of it. Nine-year-old black Labrador crossed with a brain's gone blank. Crossed with a Staffordshire Terrier. The theory was to get a well-behaved mid-sized dog, and what we ended up with, because we got two, we bought brother and sister, and we ended up with one that was completely neurotic Staffy at the size of a Labrador, and the other one which was he's basically pure black Labrador. Basically there's virtually no sign of Staffordshire Terrier in him at all, but his sister was a brindle with a short coat and as neurotic as a dog comes.
That sounds like a fun family.
She was destructive. She was unbelievably destructive. You'd buy them toys, and the toys that'd have the squeakers in them, and within half an hour she'd have the toy disemboweled and all the squeakers out on the floor, chewed up so that they didn't squeak anymore. Since she passed, which is 18 months ago, I think, he's had toys bought for him that have all of the squeakers in them that still work. So we know who the destructive one was. It wasn't him. So anything that was chewed up in the house was her. Just amazing that they're such, I mean, they're out of the same litter, but such different personalities, and I mean different physiologies too, right? She was long and lean and leggy, and he's a bit of a buffhead.
Oh dear. I'm sure there are behavioral psychologists out there that'll tell you that that is the perfectly normal way of things. All blokes are buffheads.
Well, maybe.
I'm sure you can get a behavioral psychologist to tell you that.
Sure. It's the modern world. I can go diagnosis shopping for anything.
It's actually my brother's degree.
He's a behavioural psychologist.
No, he works in a warehouse.
Right.
His degree is behavioural psychology.
Oh, okay.
He's just never done anything with it because he hates it.
You go to university to learn what you don't want to do for the rest of your life. That's reasonable. It's just expensive.
Yep, he fortunately managed to pay off all his HEX debts with working in a liquor warehouse.
There you
go. And once he managed that, he traded up to an electrical supply warehouse.
Right.
And he's still there.
Obviously it suits him.
Seems to. He's even more misanthropic than you make yourself out to be.
I've been in and out of counselling my entire adult life, being on the anxious side and prone to stress. And we were discussing that one day, and we were talking about people, and I was talking about how I didn't like people very much. He was saying, well, that's really interesting. He said, because people that don't like other people is usually because they don't like themselves. So let's explore which aspects of yourself you don't like. That was a very interesting conversation. And he's right. It was a long time ago. But I learned from that as a child you are very heavily influenced by the role models around you, and my parents, for whatever reason, they were who they were because of the way they were brought up, and they had certain views on the world and they passed those down. And I'm not talking about any particular political or religious persuasions, just the way they dealt with the world. So they were deeply suspicious of other people and timid and not, well, yeah, timid's the wrong word, but not confident in their interactions with other people, taking negative experiences poorly and all that kind of stuff, and they pass that on. So that's how I am.
Fair enough. So, I'm glad that the therapy has appeared to have helped, at least with that realization.
Yeah. It's one thing to realize it, it's another thing to deal with it and do something about it.
Asterix and Obelix. What was the chief's name? Is it Vital Statistics?
That's him, Vital Statistics.
I can just see a big orc Vital Statistics on that shield.
That's him. He sits up there.
If you don't paint this orc chieftain with like blue and white stripes, I'll be disappointed.
Prepare to be disappointed. Actually, I don't know what colour I'm going to paint him, but he's basically swathed in fur, so blue and white stripes on fur just isn't going to work.
Might be a weird take on a Celtic army.
Yeah?
Blue and white fur, yeah.
Celtic orcs. So they're not green skins, they're blue skins.
Yeah, there you go, that's an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how Demonworld stands currently, but in other Facet properties with orcs can be blue-skinned.
I haven't specified a skin colour for orcs.
Not yet.
Well, I don't really intend to.
Pink orcs, eh?
Yep. Why not?
Fair enough. I actually think I've seen that somewhere before.
Pink orcs?
Yeah.
And it's one of those really easy tropes to fall into. You know, it's an orc, it must be... immediately must be A, B and C because it's an orc. And you're just like, really? Who said that?
Games Workshop.
Yep. But, you know, I'm a fan of Rick Priestley and Alessio Cavatore and others who were there at the time, but I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that orcs need to have green skin.
I remember those names from way back in the day.
Those names are still prominent. Alessio Cavatore and Rick Priestley did Bolt Action. Rick Priestley's done Warlords of Erewhon, so he's working with Warlord games primarily. Andy Chambers is still there. What game system did he just do? Oh, that was Blood Red Skies. So they're all there and they're all still putting out games. Who's the tall guy? What's his name? Can't think of his name. That's dreadful. He's still at Workshop, still doing Warhammer Fantasy.
I'm sure it'll come to you at some point.
Yeah.
Need not dwell on it.
Can you hear the cogs clanking?
Yeah, actually. It's that or your brush.
No, it's the cogs clanking. Righto, skin done. What next?
Don't ask me, I just work here.
Oh, I'd like to say skin done, but I've just recognised that I've done this guy's face, but I haven't done his arms. So we're not skin done at all.
With my latest batch of Highlanders, I had the same problem. I thought, oh, skin's done. Oh, wait, that face is not done, and neither is that one hand, and neither are the knees. And then I had to go back over each of the figures to make sure that I actually did get them done, and I had missed skin on about 5 of the 7.
Yeah, it happens. I don't know why it happens, but it happens.
In my case, I got distracted.
Yep.
It's not a good excuse, but it's the one I'm using.
Well, I know, that's what happens. You get distracted. You start thinking about something else, and
Oh, it's the Orcish Prince Adam. I remember that figure.
Which one?
The Orcish Prince Adam. By the power of Greyskin, I have the power.
Yeah, okay, you've lost me.
Well, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, you know, that's actually... I know of the cartoon, but I never actually watched it. Wasn't...
I haven't watched it since I was 6.
Yeah, it wasn't
but,
something
you know,
I
those
watched.
things stick in your head. So Prince Adam takes his sword and he sticks it aloft and says, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power, and he turns into He-Man.
Okay.
In a pose very similar to that figure.
This guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The Orcish Prince Adam.
Orcish Prince Adam. I did wonder where you were going with that, because there's been a lot of discussion in the 1879 Discord channel about Prince Albert in the last few days.
Yeah, I saw that. I just want that damn book to have come out 3 months ago.
The forts.
Fort Alice, yeah.
Alice, yeah.
Fort Alice is where, in playing time, the the officers and crew and passengers of AV Cassiopeia are hanging out.
Okay.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. I haven't been. I haven't listened to last week's yet. I just haven't had time. As I said. I
don't blame you. We're not there yet.
The week from hell.
Yeah, well, the episodes aren't going away. There's no deadline on them, so.
No, but I don't want to have to suddenly, watch a batch of 6 to catch up. I'd like to sort of stay relatively current.
I guess.
Yeah.
I just would have liked to have had that Fort Alice book to do some world building from, instead of me having to make everything up outside of the small amount that's presented in the Game Master's Guide.
Is the worry that when the book does come out, if it's significantly different than what you've made up, people will complain?
It's not a worry. It's more of a kick myself. I feel like I should be able to predict the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there is a way that you can do this. And I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yep.
But you profess to having no writing talent, so...
Well, it's because I don't. In any case, I am looking forward to the book being out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty close to done.
It sounded like it was pretty close to done 3 years ago.
Yes.
Yes, we understand. We, the gaming public, understand these things. I am still waiting on a game that was supposed to have been early first quarter 2021 and is still, I think they're still in development, the lying cheats. They're blaming it on printers, but I don't think that's actually the case.
It used to be that the byword for delayed products was Duke Nukem 3D, but didn't they actually release that?
Duke Nukem Forever.
Right.
They did actually release it, and it was a pretty good game. It was just 10 years too late.
Too late, yeah.
The game design paradigm had shifted, and it made Forever feel extremely dated. But if it had released 10 years earlier, it would have been spot on perfect for that era. I suppose keeping references to the Olsen twins was, yeah. I mean, that's how the game opens, basically. It's like, oh, it's the Olsen twins in your apartment. They were like 30 at the time the game released. Not the 18-year-olds that people remember from being cute little kids on TV.
No, but they didn't grow up ugly either, so...
I guess. Millions of dollars of plastic surgery and makeup and image consultants can do that to a person.
That's right. There's a whole industry around it.
I shudder at the thought of what they'd do to me.
You and I, my friend, might just end up in the too hard basket and they might just move on. Well, I'd be putting myself there anyway.
Taking your money.
Oh, no doubt. That rental space in the too hard basket's expensive.
This is certainly true.
I've never had much time for mirrors. Never. I'm more interested in other things than my own reflection.
I do have a mirror in my bedroom.
Yeah, so do I. It's on the back of the door. I leave the door open.
Mine hangs at below neck height.
Right. So you can see what you're wearing.
Yeah, basically. And nothing else.
Yeah. See? Perfectly
just
reasonable.
the way I like it.
I understand that completely. I get that some people enjoy that sort of thing. It's not for me.
Much rather make little bits of metal look pretty.
Well, attempt to.
Well, I think you know what I think about that.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. It took me a long time to realise that the person that I was making the metal pretty for was me. And I needed to be kinder to myself because really it didn't matter what other people thought of it. And continually looking for that praise and that feedback and everything from everybody else was a waste of time.
Fair enough.
You see some people lob into things like Instagram. They're good painters. There's no doubt about the fact that they're good painters, but they chase the likes. They do what they think they need to do to collect the likes, and they get a lot of them, and they burn out because it's not fun anymore.
That is key to having fun with what you're doing.
Yeah. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? It's a hobby. I'm not earning any money out of this. not by a long shot. The whole ether stream thing's been actually quite expensive. That's what you do. You speculate, you attempt to create something. It takes time and energy and money, and maybe if you're lucky it's a good enough product that people will buy and you maybe recoup some of that investment. None of us is in this gaming industry, at least at the level that I'm in it, to get rich.
Or pay rent.
Yeah.
Or a week of groceries, I gather.
Yep. When you consider that, know, I put together all of the prototypes for all of the models for the Kickstarter, and yes, there were issues with them, but you know, I bought that resin and I printed them all and cleaned them all up and painted them with a clear paint so that they'd be nice and clear and shiny and all that kind of stuff. And that the resin, the clear resin for that is $200 a litre. It's a significant investment just in that piece alone. And the internet's such a toxic place that people feel entitled to just walk up to it, look at it, sniff, dismiss, make derogatory comments and walk away.
Yep. Certainly saw a lot of that.
And you look at that and you go, well, hang on, that's not right. And then you look at it and you go, there's no point in arguing about it. There's no point in attempting to put your view across because they're not interested. It's not about you, it's about them. And if you try and make it about you, you're just wasting your time. So we learn from the experience, we go back, we reset, we look at where the major criticisms were and we look at what we can do to address them. The major sensible criticisms, I mean, because some of it was just ridiculous.
It was a bit petty at times.
Yeah.
What's that? You want us to invent a time machine?
Yeah, something along those lines. I like the fact that we got 2 criticisms in a row. It was literally 2 emails back to back. And one complained about one thing, and the other complained that it wasn't exactly the opposite. And you're left standing there. You're looking at this going, do you know what? If we'd gone this one way to keep this guy happy, this other guy would have been even less happy. So you're literally damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You know, that was the lesson of, wow, you certainly can't please everybody. And we're operating in a very, very small market. Very niche. And it's like, even in such a small niche, you can't keep everybody happy. It's a lesson there.
Certainly is.
So the takeaway lesson is, hey, we're going to produce the game that we like and that we want to play and that we like the look of, and yeah, we're addressing some of the issues with some of the production quality, because yeah, we agree that it wasn't good enough. But aside from that, if people want a specific game, then they're more than welcome to go and make it themselves. Take it to Kickstarter, see how successful they are.
Yes, it is much harder to create than it is to enjoy.
Yep.
People out there listening. All none of you.
One. Just one. There'll be
That's
one.
Me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not listening.
But you're not really even out there.
I certainly don't take my own advice. I know what sort of mouth it comes out of.
Who said that? Who said people spend so much time worrying about what goes into their mouths, they forget to worry what comes out of it?
I have no idea, but I'm sure it was a very clever person.
Yeah, it was a very observant person, that's for sure. I've missed this one's ear. Just while we're on the subject of not having done all of the flesh.
I suppose you could have a radio. Didn't some of your previous orcs have radios?
Only accidentally. Wasn't deliberate.
Orcish makeup.
Saturday night. Good paint though. Actually, the only reason I'm using it instead of the pale flesh colour from Ralpatha is because I started with the corpse pale and all the other orcs, and it's an army. I need it to be consistent. So
fair enough.
Well, this guy's got a bare torso. I've just realised. That's either a nipple or a wart.
It's not a piercing.
Could be. Could be a bolt. He could be the orc equivalent of Herman Munster.
Fred Gwynn.
That, yes.
I never watched the Munsters much. It wasn't.
It was terrible.
On much.
It was terrible. Adam's Family was significantly better.
I would tend to agree with that because I did enjoy the Addams Family.
Wednesday, play with your food.
I just remembered Fred Gwynn from another great old show that I quite liked, Phil Silver's show, or Sergeant Bilko, as many people know it as these days.
I didn't watch that.
It was a mid-50s show.
Right.
And I got introduced to it when it was on Foxtel at 2 a.m.
Right.
In my college days.
Right, because
you know, that's what college people do at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've since picked it all up on DVD. Fred Gwynn, who played Herman Munster, was a guest star in several of the earlier episodes.
Okay.
And you wouldn't recognize him,
no.
Except for the height and,
yeah,
I guess, the voice.
It'd be like David Prowse. Like, no one would recognise him.
Mm.
Hey, I'm one of the most famous characters in, what, movie franchise history. Utterly unrecognisable. Like Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker.
Yeah. Or the guy who played Chewbacca.
Yeah, and I don't even know the actor's name for him, and that's appalling. All I remember was that after they'd filmed the scene in the water in the Death Star, his costume stank. The rest of the shooting. Peter Mayhew, there you go. I did know the name, it just wasn't in front of my brain.
Yep.
It's excellent having the internet at your fingertips.
I suppose it helps.
The walking carpet. How goes your painting?
I'm destroying brushes with great alacrity.
What sort of brushes did you get?
Just cheap ones.
Right. Were they synthetics?
Yeah, they would be.
The tacked ones. So you're getting the nice little tip curl.
Yeah. Or they're splitting right down the middle of the bristles into two separate parts.
Yeah. Cheap brushes.
Not that cheap.
Well, no.
Cheap to build or cheap to fabricate, but...
Tackle ones, what, they're normally about $8 a brush. Normally between $8 and $10 a brush, yeah. This one's doing exactly what you've described. Both things. It's already started to curl. I've been using it for what, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And it's already starting to curl and it's already starting to split. I've got some brushes coming. The up here guys have sent me some of their brushes. And they're supposed to be red sable, so I'm hoping that they are better than this. I bought 3 of these Taklons, the gold Taklon, not the white Taklon, last time. Oh, I'm thoroughly disappointed with them.
Just to change the subject slightly for a second.
I
finally went and saw my barber yesterday because I got jack of having long hair.
Right.
And I was able to get a bunch of things done to make myself appear more handsome, in my opinion.
Yeah?
Anyway, to bring it back full circle, is right next to the barber shop is a post office, Australia Post.
Yeah.
And they sell lotto and they're a news agent.
Oh, yeah. Mixed business. Yeah,
their most recent mix-in is as a model and hobby store.
Oh!
They've got the full range of Vallejo game color and model color.
Right.
They've got a decent amount of Tamiya. They've got SMS. They've got Mr. Hobby. Mr. Hobby acrylic only, I think. They've got cheap as chips tools from China, including brushes.
Well,
and then a wall full of fighter planes and tanks and a couple of ships. No miniatures.
How many spaces did you make in the display? How many gaps did you put in the display?
Just 3, because I was short on time and didn't have much of a chance to browse. 2 cheap brushes and a bottle of brass-coloured paint.
Cool.
Because I realised that the gold colour that I thought I bought was too goldy for what I plan on doing to my Samsut miniatures.
Right.
And I suppose I really could have bought copper, but brass is probably a bit more universal.
Possibly. So, is this a case of beware the next haircut?
Pretty much.
those haircuts could get very expensive.
Well, I just picked up on impulse a bottle of beard oil from the barber as well.
Oh, right.
I'm a fan of beard oil. I have a small collection of ones that I like, and he had one that I hadn't seen before, so I just snapped it up on impulse, and it's quite nice, actually.
There you go. That's something I've never used.
Oh, it's great if you get the right product.
Been sporting a beard in one form or another now for 30 years and never used beard oil. And when I say sporting, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I couldn't more highly recommend a good beard oil made from natural ingredients.
What do? You just comb it through?
A couple of drops on the heel of your palm.
Oh, right.
Or in your palm, I suppose. And then just
massage
rub it in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't know if you get beard dandruff, but it goes a long way to reducing it. Or even just have itchy skin under the beard, you know. Yeah. It's great for removing that sort of irritation.
Not often, to be honest. The flaky skin under it, yes, but not itchy. Not unless I've cut it right back. Like if I shave the thing right back with no guard on the clippers, then the next couple of days you're normally relatively uncomfortable.
Right, so if you just do a trim on the ends gotcha. It's already softened. Beard oil does help a fair bit with softening a new beard as well.
Yeah.
Plus it can smell good, which is something that some people may or may not be interested in. This one is a patchouli and leather scented formulation.
Leather? Did you say leather?
Leather.
Leather scented.
Yeah, like a leather armchair. Or...
Yeah. I got it. It's just like wouldn't have conceived that somebody would have come up with a scent like that. It's like, I want my face to smell like that chair.
It's a warm and comfortable and inviting smell.
Yeah. I am bemused, not derogatory. At least attempting to be. These are things I just simply hadn't considered, so this is me considering.
Fair enough.
Not simply dismissing. Because...
Well, to be fair, I wouldn't recommend this particular product because of its formulation. It's a lot of non-natural oils and fragrances in it. But it smells pretty good.
It sort of goes all the way back to the start of the conversation where I consider that my face is there really just to cover the front of my head, and that's about as much attention as I pay to it.
Well, I guess that's fair enough. It's just I feel the same way, except I like my beard.
Mine tends to get treatment every 3 to 4 weeks, and that treatment is running a number 5 guard through it and then moving on.
Fair enough. So I had to restrain the barber from doing his usual, because I'm trying to grow it out.
Right.
Yeah, he was very surprised, but it didn't stop him from charging me full price.
Ouch.
All I want is just a couple of stragglers trimmed off. I'm trying to grow the damn thing.
Yeah. I haven't been to a hairdresser in 30 years. That's probably an exaggeration. 25.
Some of us still have full heads of hair.
Nope.
I do.
Cute.
Yeah.
Mine only grows on the sides and underneath now. It's migrating south.
To harken all the way back to FreedoniaCon of early this year, I appeared on a panel with some other podcasters, some of whom you know and others you might not. Although they're all better than me.
All right.
Every single one of them was a personage such as yourself, on the sides and underneath. I was the only one with any on top, so I made the comment, to be a good podcaster or a good actual play podcaster, you can't have hair on top. It was much more funny and wittier, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah, right. Did everybody get a kick out of that?
I hope so.
Then in order to
I did.
Yeah, well, I guess there is something to be said for that. The career progression of a podcaster is lose your hair. I used to commute on a motorcycle every day, and so I used to keep my hair very short because Australian summers and long hair and motorcycle helmets is just awful.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And after 10 years of doing that, I tried to grow my hair out, and then suddenly realised I didn't have any on top anymore, and went, I'll keep cutting it short, thanks. Doesn't surprise me. I do have Scottish heritage, which explains the ginger in it too. It's funny how you don't have any ginger hair on your head, but you've got ginger hair in your beard.
Yeah, I've got a couple in mine as well, although I don't have a drop of Scottish in me. Half of my family is Irish.
Well, there you go. The other half of my family's Dutch. So, Scots on one side, Dutchman on the other, and a dysfunctional family. Who'd have thought?
My half English, as you can tell from my wonderful surname, and my Irish sides are actually combined 50-50 in both maternal and paternal lines. So both sides of the family just send each other car bombs. Both sides of the family, just car bombs, litter bombs.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I know that it isn't just a euphemism.
I do actually have an uncle from Northern Ireland. One of my mother's sisters married an Irishman.
One of my favourite people on the planet's a Northern Irishman.
Yeah, I've got nothing against them. It's just a thinking about car bombs and all that. It's just funny. And then, oh wait, family. It's actually true.
Oh dear.
I'm told it raised some very strange looks. You got this Orangeman, Northern Irish, you know, super Irishman marrying a good Catholic girl.
It would have.
Like, what?
It would have.
It raised some eyes in his family, apparently.
It's funny how that stuff still matters to some people. To a lot of people.
Apparently, several hundred years of oppression will do that to a nation.
Yep.
How fortunate we are to be Australian and we don't have quite that much baggage.
Yeah, it certainly gives you an interesting perspective, doesn't it?
I mean, we've got baggage.
Yeah.
Most of it's just been invented in the last 50 years.
Yeah. I was going to make the point that it's new baggage and it wasn't terribly well put together and the wheels have just fallen off halfway down the concourse, but yes, there's definitely baggage.
I think that's one of the things I like the most about these fantasy roleplay games in alternate worlds and alternate settings.
You can leave that rubbish behind.
Well, we can pick and choose the baggage that we want.
Yeah. I told you I was listening to Dragonlance again, didn't I? I did mention that.
Yeah, I think you did.
And how it is young adult, shall we say, pitched at that level, even though it wasn't called young adult at the time. But in the 2021 world, if somebody was to put a book out like that, eyebrows would be raised. Because the overt racism is actually quite shocking. And yet, we just accepted it as normal at the time. You know, it didn't raise any eyebrows with us. It was just normal. That's how people refer to each other, without realising necessarily that it was wrong in particular. But yeah, it's like some of the things the characters say, and you're just like, wow, how the world has changed.
When did we lose our ability to clearly delineate between fiction and real life? Sometime around the start of Twitter, I suppose.
Yeah, possibly. Do you remember me telling you this guy was going to come and stick his head under my elbow?
Yes. An adorable little fellow.
Not little though, eh?
Little, but...
You muppet. Go and
see,
sit on
people,
the cat.
this is what you're missing out on. Adorable dogs.
He's just about to go and sit on his sister. There you go. Flomp. Ah. And by sister I mean cat, because his natural sister's gone. Yep. Okay, what next? Metal. Yes, metal. It's a process.
You mentioned before that you had chosen to go with the army painter bone color, whatever it was,
pale.
for the skin. Yeah, corpse pale. It looks bone whitey to me, so that's what I was thinking. Anyway,
it's washed out. You're going.
Yeah, and you said that you had done it to standardize the look throughout the army.
Mm-hmm.
I took a different tack with my Highlanders. In the 3 batches that I'm painted or painting so far, I've had 3 different skin tones for them, just to mix it up a little.
Yep.
Does that end up looking silly, or is it?
Nope. Depends on how you base them at that point. Depends on what sort of mix you end up with. If you've got, so like you'll have 12 figures, right? So you'll have 4 bases of 3. So if you've got each one of those 4 bases, the 3 figures that all have the same skin tone, but the skin tone's different between those 4 bases, it'll look stupid. If there's a mix of skin tone across the bases, then it'll look natural.
Good.
Because like if you homogenize the base, but it's heterogeneous across the unit, it'd just be like, well, you did each one of these bases differently, and they're not consistent, and it will actually stand out glaring. But yeah, if you mix them in all together, then it was like, well, that was deliberate. A friend of mine posted a bunch of, posted a photo to the Demonworld group on Facebook yesterday or the day before. I think it might have been the day before, of some human figures, and he's done that.
I saw those. They had crossbows.
Yeah, crossbows, and you know the different colours on the tunics and all that kind of stuff, because it's scattered across the bases. Looks normal. Just looks like it's a lower. I don't want to use the term lower class, but a lower quality.
Travel sort of army.
Yeah, a lower quality army. I've missed the bloody red in there.
Conscripted.
Yeah, something along those lines. A unit that wasn't issued uniforms.
Hey, we need men to work these crossbows. Get over here.
Yep.
We're off to war now. Bye. I'm sure quite a bit of that happened.
Yep.
Once upon a time.
It's actually only, you're only talking the 1500s and 1600s that professional armies really came into being in Europe again. I guess talk about the Roman army as a professional army, and it had uniforms and stuff like that, but they actually don't know what colour the Romans wore. That whole red thing is a Hollywood thing.
I always associated the Roman army with green because of Asterix and Obelix.
Those crazy Belgians. Those crazy Belgians. Well, sadly, that's actually how I painted my Roman army. It was like the red from the cinema, because you see the Roman armies on the big screen, and you know they're wearing red. So I did that, and then I needed some other units, and so one was green, one was purple. I think a lot of the Praetorians I did were purple, because purple's the royal colour and always has been. I'm pretty sure the stuff that I was reading not that long ago suggested they don't actually know what colours they wore, and they may well have been heterogeneous. But because they wore that, what's it called, the Voricum segmentata, they would have looked uniform anyway, because the metal would have all been the same shape and size and shiny and whatever. But yeah, it's not until you sort of hit English Civil War, 30 Years' War, that you start getting Professional field armies. Like, I just finished watching a special on the Wars of the Roses, and they were just nobles turning the rabble. So they, you know, there's no uniform in there. You just paint them whatever you like. There would have been guys that did have house retinues that did outfit their retinues, but they would have been very small units of any sort of consistent look. So yeah. And then you swing all the way to the Napoleonic Wars where everybody looked the same, except they didn't really. And then you get these people that fanatically adhere to uniform patterns for things like the German army in the Second World War. You know, all
the
those
Germans are so orderly.
Those really cool late war camouflage smocks and jackets and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is that their supply system was so broken that by 1943, after 1943, all bets are off. There would have been very, very few units that looked anyway homogenous by the end of 1943.
Another Hollywood invention.
Yeah, exactly. You've heard that joke about why it was called the 6th Panzer Army.
I don't think so.
It's because they had 6 panzers. Which is, you know, by March 45 is probably not far from the truth.
Also true.
I'm really enjoying living in the era that I'm living in. Is that we were told a whole bunch of quote truths unquote about the Second World War as kids. So, you know, I'm a child of the 70s. So by the end of the 70s there was a view of what the Second World War was and who had done what, and I didn't paint the back of this guy red at all, so yeah, I'll have to come back to that. And it was all stated as fact, right? Here's what the Second World War was, here's who did what and when they did it and why, and end of story. Cut and dried. You know, the Germans were evil and everybody else was good, and we defeated Nazism and we're the heroes, and yay. In the 30 years since then, a whole bunch of people have gone, you know that truth, that's not actually true. Which is great, because you've got the biggest conflict in human history is now reduced from its black and white homogenized view to something that is as subtle and nuanced as the real thing actually was, or at least it's going that way, which is fascinating.
It's the end of the heroic battle epic movie, though.
Yeah.
Now we have to go back to World War I for those.
Did you watch 1917?
I didn't, actually.
I can recommend it.
A lot of people do.
It's not a fun movie, but it's a good one. Cinematographically, I don't know what that word is. Cinemagraphically, really amazing achievement.
Yeah, I'm not really actually a fan of war movies.
No.
I saw Saving Private Ryan once, and that was enough for me.
Yes, there are significant issues with that particular film. Perhaps we shouldn't get into.
The sort of war movies that I ended up enjoying the most were the ones that were actually put out as propaganda at the time of the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
42, 43, 44.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were largely home front, light comedy, and maybe some people will go to war, maybe. And if there is a war, it's happening far, far, far away.
Yeah.
But they always manage to work in the recruiting pitch. Going My Way, Bing Crosby flick from 44 is one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Young Catholic priest comes to save an old failing parish, and manages to, do it by playing golf, because it's a Bing Crosby movie.
Okay.
And he does some singing too, because it's a Bing Crosby
movie. Yeah.
But it's also nominally a war movie, because he ends up recruiting a bunch of people to go off and fight.
Interesting. Okay.
I just think it's a really good, well put together sort of movie for, not even allowing for its time, but it's clearly a product of its time.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good movie.
I don't mind that.
It's 1944 and the war's happening, and he's sending young blokes who are about to get married off to fight. As one of the things he's doing in the background for parts of the movie.
Yeah.
And then you get things like Operation Petticoat and that sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
Which are the other sort of war movie that I enjoy, where they're just farces.
Well, I'm right there with you. My favourite war film of all time is Kelly's Heroes.
That is a pretty good movie.
It's not a war film at all. It's a bank heist set in a time of war. My partner hates it. Primarily because I've seen it so many times that I quote it before the actors say their lines. She hates that. Actually, most people hate that.
Well, that's the normal thing to do in my family.
Mm-hmm.
My siblings and I all quote The Simpsons at each other, and that's how we communicate. Just through understanding of the episodes and the knowing of the lines. Yeah. That's the only way we have meaningful interactions. Just quoting The Simpsons.
Yep. There's a vast store of cultural gold in that particular show. Political, social commentary done through the medium of a popular cartoon. I've always said that Matt Groening was a genius. Even though I haven't watched a great deal of it.
great deal of it's not worth watching, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I guess it's like any... You know, people hold Monty Python up as you know, classic comedy of its generation, everything like that. And
only about half of it was any good.
Yeah, and I think you're being very generous by using half. I think we flatter it because we remember the last half rather than the first half.
I rather like the first half of the show.
Monty Python?
Or do you mean The Simpsons?
No.
Because there's been nothing good in The Simpsons for the last 17 or 18 years. I think they're up to season 32 at the moment. It stopped being consistently funny at season 12, and it was already on its way downhill at that point.
Yeah. My two standout Simpson moments is the Mary Poppins episode. I can't remember the character's name.
Sherry Bobbins.
Sherry Bobbins, right. That episode, and it's only the final 30 seconds of it that's actually funny.
Unless you get sucked into the jet engine.
That's exactly right. That is and will remain forever gut-wrenchingly funny. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how many times I see that scene, I will laugh at it because it's funny. And the other one is Homer's pig barbecue.
Oh dear.
And again, the whole sequence of it being fired off the barbecue and him chasing it across the countryside going, it's still good, and that's amusing. But the whole conversation between Burns and Smithers about what was it about?
Oh, I'll donate $1 million. $1
million to an orphanage when pigs fly. Crash! Nah. Yeah. That is, is genuinely funny.
It was. It's very good.
So, yeah, they're my two standout Simpsons moments.
Come to Homer's BYOBB. The extra B is a typo.
BYOBB. Yep.
It's actually three. Actually, it's 3 B's at the end. BYOBBB.
Yeah. The last B is a typo.
Yeah.
And the changing opening sequences, again, look, I haven't looked at this show in a very, very, very long time. It was a topic of conversation in my first job, which is, again, 1992. So I haven't really paid any sort of attention to it since then. Snippets here and there, but the change in opening sequences, you know, with the skateboard and the car and chasing Homer into the garage and all that kind of stuff, that was funny.
Yeah, well, it was a platform for jokes that they couldn't otherwise put on the show.
Yeah.
And people would gather around and talk about it. It's like, oh, you see the latest episode of The Simpsons, the credits.
Yeah.
What a funny joke that was. Oh, they did something hilarious when they all sat down on the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
And the best one of all is when they all sat down on the couch and nothing happened.
Yeah, because you're waiting for it and you're waiting for it. Nothing happens. It's like, joke's on you.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, you know, we'd record them on the VCR.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just happened to be home at the time and watching live, it would be, yeah, quick, stomp on the floor, come upstairs and watch TV. The Simpsons are on, and it's about to be the couch gag, and they'd be like, yeah. It was an important thing for us as children living in 1990, 91, 92.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of sad to look back on it now that way, but anyway.
I had a moment like that at work this week. One of the young engineers was doing a demo, and it all went wrong. And this was the second time he'd given that particular demo, and it was the second time that it had all gone wrong. And he was flummoxed. He was like, but, this worked, but... And I said, do you know who Rocky and Bullwinkle are? And he just blinked. Not a clue. I mean, he's a 20-something. Who doesn't know who Rocky and Bullwinkle is? And I mean, that's fair enough, because unless you're watching, the right pay TV now, you wouldn't see it, because it doesn't get played on free-to-air anymore, I wouldn't have thought. Not that I watch free-to-air, but...
So I don't think Rocky and Bullwinkle's been on ABC since the mid-90s.
Yeah, long time. Anyhow, so I send him the link to the YouTube clip, which is every single one of the Hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. He goes, again? This time for sure. Actually, it's the last one where he says, that trick never works. He says, this time for sure. And he pulls Rocky out of the hat instead of a rabbit. And all of the other scary creatures, because every other time it's been a big scary creature. It's a lion, a rhino, all sorts of stuff. One of the gags is, I gotta get a new hat.
You've got a pretty good Bullwinkle voice.
This time for sure. But it's the this time for sure. It's always stuck with me, particularly doing software demos where they go wrong. So we're going to run this, we're going to demo this, and this time it'll work for sure. Nope. But yeah, wisdom in cartoons. Ren and Stimpy.
Never did see much of that, but yeah, I do know it. As I recall, it always came on while I was off playing footy as a kid.
Yeah, and then sort of as I grew up, university years, and sort of then stopped doing that kind of stuff. Then you've got the Beavis and Buttheads, because that came in just as I was sort of transitioning away from watching that sort of television. So that, there's a whole group of people 5 to 10 years younger than me that are all, Beavis and Butthead devotees.
I was a devotee of the Beavis and Butthead spin-off Daria.
Right.
Which is another 5 to 7 years removed from Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. She was the laconic, sarcastic,
exactly.
emo chick, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I still think that show had a profound, transformative, and foundational impact on my sense of humour. And general attitude towards life.
I haven't noticed.
I was really disappointed when it was re-released on DVD, actually.
Yeah?
Because they had to strip out all of the music. It was full of, it was an MTV show, so it was full of pop culture music at the time. And it was all stripped out and put in with sound alerts.
Yeah, because they didn't want to pay for the royalties.
Would have cost them a fortune. Some of the bands that they had in there.
Yeah, no doubt. Righto, well, I'm going to do the metal on this guy, and then I'm going to call it, because I've realised that it's 10 to 10.
It certainly is.
Because we have been crapping away for nearly 2 hours.
Well, we got a viewer, though.
Did we?
Gone now. The counter went up to 2, now it's back at 1.
Well, success is a fleeting thing.
Just as soon as you said I'm about to wrap it up.
They went, oh, okay, there's no point in hanging around. Success. But I am saving these because the intention is for them to go up on the YouTube channel of Farsa rather than just living the 2 weeks on Twitch. So,
it is a good way to show off a good product.
It is, and it's a good product.
They certainly do appear to me. I'm really looking forward to getting my small collection of Samsung forces in the post soon, hopefully.
It's on its way?
It's been on its way for 2 weeks.
So it has been posted, it's just in transit?
Yeah, that's what they say. It said it was posted on the 9th, but I don't have it. I don't know if they do tracking for Royal Mail International. They certainly didn't give me any tracking for it.
Oh, there you go. So you probably don't have any. The tracking for my current box that is in transit, as of last night, was stuck in Singapore with an operational delay tag next to it.
Singapore's not a bad place to be stuck, I suppose.
Yeah, it went from France. It stayed in France 4 days, then went to China, and then to Singapore. It was in Singapore last night.
Hello, Anunakai. Joining us in the chat in the FASO Discord server.
Anunakai. Close. I keep meaning to join these because I keep watching Dan's painting and going, can you paint my army for me? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work via remote control.
I don't work via any control. That's my partner.
Bits and bytes over the web.
Yeah. How goes it?
Oh, another day. How about you?
Yeah, another day. Another 37.5 cents.
What time is it in Australia now?
It's 10 to 10, 5 to 10, something like that.
Right, okay, yeah.
Which part of New Zealand are you in?
I'm not actually, I'm in Ohio, but...
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I thought I detected an accent. I thought I detected an accent.
Yeah. You did, and you were correct. Yeah.
So what is this, late evening in Ohio? Because you're in Central Time?
Yeah, we're Eastern Time here, so...
Eastern, so it's even worse.
7:53 p.m.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
On a Friday, though, because, the usual stuff. Antipodes, you all live in the future now.
Yes. 12 hours ahead and 50 years behind.
It's not that bad.
Oh man, he's in Queensland. I would suggest it possibly is.
Biting my tongue.
hey, I might be in prison, but at least I don't have to suffer the legacy of Joe Bjelke-Peterson.
Yeah. I'm old, so I actually know who you're talking about. Don't worry. Where are you based, Matt?
He's in Brisbane.
You Southerners never understand what a great man Joe was. What a wonderful visionary leader. Truly a man of the times and a man of the
He was absolutely a man of the times. That there is no doubt.
I just have nothing to add to this. New Zealand spawned Rob Muldoon, so I mean,
There you go. We're all in glass houses.
At least the politicians with our personality, so who can actually string words together in a sentence, but probably shouldn't get onto that, given this is being recorded in Twitch and probably
That's
being
right.
thrown up.
That's right. We should probably just leave the politics for those who either know more about it or know less about it.
Ross will just give me a hard time. I'll just go, you should know better.
Yeah. So, what is your link to FASA?
I set FASA games up back in the day.
Oh, did you?
I did. just for shits and giggles.
Right. So this was the reboot, what, 2008, 2009 or something?
Yeah, I'm James Sutton from, Nee James Flowers from Red Brick originally.
Okay.
And Ross and I set up FASA Games back in 2012, and and then I left in 2013 and handing over to various and sundry people.
Wow. That must have been an interesting process.
Yeah, it was interesting days, interesting time.
Yeah, I've been a FASA fan for a very, very long time. I got into BattleTech sort of around about the 89-90 mark, which in Australia is not too bad. So it's been a bit surreal for me working with Ross, because, I've seen his name in basically everything I've bought for 30 years. But, yeah.
Yeah, same as well. It was kind of because I met Ross. Well, actually didn't meet. I met Ross for the first time, and gosh, it wasn't until I basically moved to the US in 2010. So, but prior to that, Ross and I have been working together since pretty much 2002, 2003. So, yeah. And then, as you quite rightly said, dealing with FASA Games, or FASA Corporation, I should say, products since, DOT, right back to the early Traveller products that were, thrown together with a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, the early 80s.
Oh yeah, I've been gaming for a while. Ross and I are not far apart years wise. So.
There you go. Yeah. Turns out that my involvement means that he has somebody else in the company closer to his age than most of them.
Yeah. Well, there's always Todd, so
I'm older than Todd.
Well, okay. Yeah, Todd is younger than I am, so you and I are probably similar age. So yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not that much older than Todd. About a year, I think. So yeah. Again, I'm a child of the 70s, not the 60s. But yeah. No, very good.
I didn't realise you were based in Australia, Matt.
Oh, yes, very much so.
So you're active at the moment? Was it James? Was it? Yeah.
Yes, James. I should just change my nick from Anunnaki. Active in what respect? Game wise?
Yeah.
Gaming wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been helping you guys out on the Interceptor stuff, just quietly on the side.
Oh, okay. Right.
And yeah.
So was it yours? Was the opinion about the italic version of the Etherstream logo?
Be careful. This will get recorded.
It is recorded. I don't mind. Todd and I are quite good at winding each other up.
Oh yeah. No, I've never been shy about putting my opinions out, but I used to run everything. So some old habits die hard, shall we say?
Please come back.
Yeah, no, been there, done that, read the book, got the shirt.
Got the shirt.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit anymore because it shrank in the wash.
Things have changed. The company's different goals, different teams.
I don't know. I'm not going to blow my own trumpet at all here because I'm just a muppet with some ideas. But I came at this from a miniatures perspective, which is actually why I took Demonworld on, is because it just looked like a product that had languished, and turns out that the guys that originally took it on have the same vision that Ross had for it. They took it in a direction that he wasn't happy with. Eventually.
Yeah, there was some fairly clear plans for the product originally, and same with many other of the other game lines, I guess, as well. But without going into this, because again, this is all kind of recorded. The reality of the situation was when a lot of us left in 2013, early 2014. I think it just left a few gaps.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of see that pop up on the Discord channels for Earth Dawn and stuff. Disconnects between some of the product lines because there are different teams doing different things with different interests.
Yeah.
But no one or two or three or no real kind of coordination between the actual products as a seeding bed for ideas. I think Matt, are you the guy who does the recordings with Josh and stuff recently?
Oh, that was a few months ago, but yeah, I'm not the one who does anything with Josh currently.
Okay.
It's different down.
Okay.
But I know what you mean about disconnects between certain products with different teams working on them.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of a different work profile. I guess historically back in the day, everybody worked on everything. So while we had a situation where a line developer would be appointed, and the line developer was quote unquote the word of God, which isn't quite true, but effectively everybody in the team would be able to submit their ideas and thoughts and opinions, but ultimately you have to get a product out. So decisions have to be made. Egos will occasionally get hurt because your latest cool thing, because that happens to be the coolest thing since sliced bread, and it must be in the product, may get shot down.
Yeah.
In the name of, again, getting a viable product out. And this isn't just the RPG industry, or it applies to pretty much anything. So it's just different styles of our development. For good or for bad,
that's where we've sort of gone back with the Demonworld stuff, and I don't
exactly
profess to have any kind of ability, but I have the idea and the drive to turn it back into a miniatures centric thing. And frankly, when I looked at the material that had come before, and they based third on the second material because that's what they had to work with, but they didn't take the decision to actually look at it deeply and assess it critically for whether or not it was going to form the basis of a compelling system. And as far as I can tell, they built an awful lot of stuff on a very rotten platform. So it's not an easy thing to discard that much work. But I had a lot of very long conversations with Ross about it, about the problems that I saw and the difficulties with moving the position that it was in forward into the future. And he finally agreed, and he said, "Yeah, look, it's yours now. Do with it what you like." But it was like it wasn't an easy decision to make, and it's going to create a lot of work. But it comes back down to what we want to achieve, and what we want to achieve is get these beautiful miniatures back out into the marketplace so that people are aware of them. Completely.
And I mean, again, that is the strength of the Demonworld property. The miniature range is huge, it's extensive,
and it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the second edition rules, so
the hex-based stuff.
Yeah. Preaching.
I have no beefs with those rules. What I have a beef with is the background. It was cartoony. There's no depth to it.
Yeah, agreed. It's if I was to kind of put it in a single sentence, I mean, it was originally intended to be a G-dub knockoff. So, if it needs to be its own thing, then it definitely needs to have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
So, but that means making some brave decisions. So, so be it.
Brave isn't very far from foolish. The whole world now understands the phrase "hold my beer." So maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe I've set myself up for an absolute kicking in the future because, you know, my attempt to make it something nuanced and deep doesn't work. But I need help. So one of the other things that Ross pointed out to me on the call yesterday was that as a line developer, it's my job to go and find people that'll do this work for me. So, point taken, Ross. Can't do it all.
You can't, and take that from somebody who was trying to. So
right.
yeah.
Was there something in particular happened, or was it just a natural sequence of events that
what for me?
That just people moved on.
There's a lot of history involved there.
Sure.
So for me, personally, I had a life-changing event which may or may not have been socialised through the company, but
nobody's told me anything.
My wife and son died in a particularly horrific way.
That's awful.
Murder-suicide. So
that's awful.
And that, of course, was all over New Zealand because New Zealand's a very small country.
So
but
publicly awful.
Story. Yeah, well, I mean, everyone's had their share of tragedy, Josh, most recently, of course, but...
yeah, that too.
Yeah, but anyway, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So but for me personally, and my wife had kind of been involved, we've been doing it for a while. I was making poor decisions, and increasingly poor decisions, trying to keep everything together. No excuses, it just is what it is. And then we kind of reached a point where I was just pissing off people left, right and centre. So we opted to put FASA games together as a mechanism to really put a better vehicle in place that was in a position for FASA Corporation to kind of capitalise on its intellectual property. Hopefully provide a better platform for people to come on board, and if the company did well, then people would do well. That was the original intent. I don't know that that's necessarily planned out, but anyway, this is all original intent as opposed to the end result. We did a couple of Gen Cons, one in 2012, which was the hey, Red Brick's shutting down and this is FASA Games.
Right.
And then 2013 was really, FASA Games Inc. solely. And then at a personal level, things are pretty much catching up by then. So I just had to bow out of the industry, really. It was just getting too much. So that's my particular part of it. And then quite a lot of that was people that had been involved with Red Brick, personal friends who are in the gaming industry and stuff as well. And the culture changed after that. And people just were not, really incented to carry on.
Right.
So, Ross has kind of come on board, I guess, to fill in the gap. The old original model that we had was one where line developers were appointed for each game line. Development teams were basically, key developers for each particular product, but everybody kind of worked together. So if there was a developer who was working on, for example, I'll just use Demonworld because we were talking about it, they would work on Demonworld, but if they wanted to work on Earthdawn, no problem, they can work on Earthdawn as well, or 1879 or whatever, something new. However, the line developer is the person who has the power of veto for the actual product. So they're pretty much on the fence for getting stuff done and making the hard calls where they need to be made in terms of design decisions. And then my role, which I guess is what Ross kind of does now, is product director and president, CEO, whatever you want to call it, is really the overarching, hey, this is how everything sticks together. Line developer comes in and says we want to release products A, B, C, D, and E. That the product director is really the person who says, well, we can do A, B, and C, but fundamentally we're going to leave it there for now because we've got other products that we need to get out, or we think B might be a little half-baked, so maybe you want to change things in the schedule. But it means that the line developer is really only the only person they have to report to in the food chain is just one person higher up, who has the unenviable position of kind of running everything and keeping all the footballs in the air. So that was pretty much how that's certainly how Red Brick worked, and how FGI worked for a very short period of time.
We sucked Ross back in to Etherstream as a contributor to the product because we were lacking a project manager. At the time, Todd was doing everything. He was writing the rules and setting up the play tests and organising the artwork and all that kind of stuff. And he wasn't actually writing the rules. So, we had one of our weekly catch-ups, and I just said to Ross, we need a project manager. And he said, you're volunteering me for that, aren't you? And I said, yep. So he doesn't have time. He really doesn't have time. There's an awful lot of other things that are going on that he really needs to spend time on. But we're struggling for resources. The whole Etherstream thing was done with 3 people. And sadly, I think the Kickstarter reflects that. So...
yeah, I mean, I won't voice my opinions on live on a Twitch stream on that because I kind of know what was happening, and I have my own opinions. Ross has tried to get me back in again to work on 1879, and I've had a couple of false starts, mainly because there's been a lot going on in the background, and also getting back on the horse has proved to be a little harder than I actually thought.
Right.
So
fair enough.
No other reasons than that.
On the miniature side, the RPG side, James.
Both, because I do both. I mean, I have a fairly extensive collection of Demonworld minis and 1879 minis. I just don't have a lot of time to paint. My eyesight is rubbish. So
yeah. Hey, I'm wearing these goggles for a reason.
I was going to ask you. You have to post up what they are because they actually look really good. I've got the kind of the set that you basically wear over your glasses to kind of see things.
Yeah, I can't wear those. Like, they sit on your nose as well. I can't. They clash with my glasses, which is why these are better, because they don't interact. They go. There's no contact. I find them. Yeah.
I find they actually hurt the bridge. You're hurting the bridge of your. Yeah.
Well, you and I need to have some conversations then, because we've done some extensive work on U18, which obviously has flow-on effects to the 1879 miniatures. So.
Yeah, U18's a good initial set of rules.
Well, we've just cleaned them up.
Yeah, it just needed a good tidy up.
And I won't say we're finished either. We need to continue that.
Show me a set of rules that's actually fully complete. So
well, they don't exist. Those are the ones that you've just put in the bin because you're writing a new set. It's like software. It's exactly the same. So I was originally under the impression that when we were through this next set of Demonworld releases that we would move on and do another set of 1879 miniatures releases. But if you're intending on being involved, that may actually change that path.
I hadn't said that. I was just genuinely interested in your painting threads and getting highly motivated and thinking, I really need a rig like that, and I might actually be able to get some painting actually done.
So you there's an expensive version of these that you can buy. The professional versions that people like lab users use. I will dig up and post in the Demonworld text channel what they are, but these are cheap eBay knockoffs because I was poor at the time. So I could probably buy a set of the good ones now. But yeah, I've had 5-6 years use out of these and I couldn't do without them. Just simply not. My eyesight's terrible. These being a 3.5 by magnification over the top of my prescription glasses is perfect because then the focus is here at a natural point where I'm holding my hands. So I'm not having to hold my head too far away or too close, which is good.
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I haven't had much luck finding a set, so it's been a lot of trial and error. You know, again the usual knockoffs with the slide in, slide out lenses that you just depending on what magnification you like. But
yeah, and these ones have got pins in them, so they come out. It comes with 5 lenses or something like that. I didn't bother with any of the lower magnification ones. I went straight to the highest magnification I could get. Because the interaction between the 2 sets of lenses, the prescription and the magnification one, means that I'm at a comfortable working distance. So it works for me, but obviously everybody's different.
Sounds good.
Thanks for dropping in. That's been very illuminating. And I'm hoping that anybody that watches or listens to this finds it as fascinating as I just found it. That was awesome. Thanks, James.
Oh, look, anytime. Open page, man.
Yeah, cool.
plus I got to chat to the resident Australians and the team, so little slice of home. Close enough.
Not quite. Not quite.
3 hours, come on.
Yeah, just as close to New Zealand as I am to Perth.
Yeah, good point actually. Yeah. Australia's a little bit bigger than North and South Island kind of combined. So.
People don't understand how big Australia is. You go, oh, we're going to come to Australia for a holiday. We're going to come into Melbourne and we're going to drive to Perth. And you're like, okay, there's half your holiday, just in the drive. It's like a cross-continental US trip.
Yep.
Without being quite so interesting, I'd imagine.
Well, you can always do the desert run to the Northern Territories, right?
Yeah,
so.
That would at least be interesting, but seriously, a drive across a Nullarbor? That's not interesting.
Fair. It's actually fair. Had some friends who used to do truck runs back and forth.
Oh.
So they were...
Dear, oh dear.
Then again, they used to do truck runs through Europe as well, so later on, but...
Yeah.
Through
Very
Russia.
Good. Oh, okay. Now that's a different kind of interesting. Some of that would be terrifying.
Yeah, they have some interesting tales, but it is all the altar of life experience. All right, sounds like you guys need to get some sleep.
No, it's just another one of those things that this is an hour-long live stream that is now at the 2-hour 20 mark. But please drop in again. That's awesome.
No worries. I'm online. I'm on the Discord, so ping me if you need to.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Maddie. Appreciate your company.
I really enjoyed this conversation between you two chaps. It's been very interesting, just as a spectator. So I hope everyone else enjoys it too.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, sorry for the darker side, everyone. But
no.
seedy edge, the seedy underbelly of the game development.
On that note, signing off. Thanks, folks. See you next week.
Catch you later.